a treat today. Sweden top the relay standings, but only by 15 points. World champions France are looking to take home the Crystal Globe for the second time in 3 seasons, but it's by no means a given that they'll do it.
Well, they certainly look good on paper. The French have the most phenomenal team, and certainly the team that I would guess would be up there at the top. But we've already seen this morning that the wind conditions are very unpredictable, and I think we can expect to see a lot more penalty loops, just as we saw in this morning's race.
You can see the movements through the skis there as we take a look at the start list. So the permutations for you, and this is the maths that me and Scott have been going through. France need to win their first relay of the season on the World Cup, of course, world champions in Lenzerheide, and Sweden can't finish any higher than third. That's if France are to take away the Crystal Globe. Sweden, it will be in their hands if they finish higher than third. We can take a look through the teams there. One of the big talking points today, no doubt, Scott, no Franziska Preuss in for Germany. Is that a surprise to you, considering how much is at stake in the battle for the overall Crystal Globe?
I think it's nothing but wise, considering what she needs to be able to produce on the final 2 World Cup stages after this. I think that not racing the amazing Preuss is a wise choice.
Whereas Lujan Minot, she seems to be that athlete that will always just want to race, just keep that momentum going, and has been such a key part of this France team as a lead out. After her, you then have Oceane Michelon, Brassard Boucher and Julia Simon. Like you said, Scott, this is a team that is brimming full of talent and also carrying individual momentum over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the French with so much at stake here at this event, I would certainly want to put my best team forward. But Sweden also, they really are here to do some fighting, and Scott Time has some pressure on her shoulders.
Absolutely. Leading the team out, it's usually Anna Magnusson, but to shuffle around in the order, Sala Anderson comes into the team. Hannah Erberg will be on the final leg. There's a look at the French quartet, led out, as always, by Lujan Minot. Oceane Michelon winning her place after taking her first World Cup podium during the pursuit race. Norway led out by Carolina Offigstad Notten. No wins this season. They do have a third place in Contiolate and a second place in Ruhpolding and Antholz, and of course the world silver medalist. Well, a new look German quartet, and Germany have 2 wins to their name, Scott, but not without Franziska Preuss.
And I think we can say that Germany would struggle to get up there today. Czechia, they do have a good team, and they have the benefit of being supported by thousands of fans who have travelled far and wide. You can see so many varieties of flags amongst them.
Now keep an eye on the third leg for Czechia as well. Plechikova, just 18 years old and performing well at youth level. Want to keep an eye on for the future. But all poised, ready to go. One final race here in Nove Mesto. The venue delivering atmospheric drama as we kicked off the final trimester on the World Cup circuit. And this, the final relay race, all still to play for at the top. And for one final time this season in Nove Mesto, we are underway. The final women's relay of the season. Sweden lead in the battle for the small crystal globe, but only by 15 points. It could all swing today. France will need their first victory of the season and will need to hope that behind them Sweden do not finish higher than third. If they do, it will come down to a tie break, and with Sweden having won 2 races this season, while France have no wins apart from that World Championships, which isn't included in the World Cup next to their name. It really is a brilliant battle, Scott, you have to say.
Yes, and in conditions like these as well, with the snow being so loose underfoot, it's going to be exciting to see how these world-class and world champion biathletes are able to withstand the tension that creates through the legs when they get to the shooting range. And that, combined with the wind, is going to make for a very unpredictable visit to every single shooting bout here.
So unlike the men's race, all 21 bibs named on the start list here and present. Sweden wearing 1, France 2, Norway 3, Germany go in 4, Switzerland 5, the Italians wear 6, Austria 7, Ukraine, who had that brilliant podium finish in the men's race, go in 8, Poland 9, and Finland round out the top 10 wearing bib number 10.
From a strategy perspective, Team France with the fastest biathletes on average and by a long margin. That's just in ski speed alone. It benefits the French if they open up with an early pace and maintain that aggressive attacking, especially while the likes of Puff of Germany, great shooter, but will not be able to match the pace of the French ladies.
And you can see that in the same manner that she did at the World Championships, Lou Jean-Monod is not hanging around, and going with her is Amy Berserger of Switzerland, and this Swiss team, Scott, a quartet that you've got your eyes on.
Yeah, I think that the Swiss could do very well today with Berserger, Gasparin, the sisters who have so much experience together, handing over to one another, and Lena Heike Gross taking out the anchor leg. I think it's a strong team, and with the unpredictable conditions, it stands a good chance for some outsiders to feature on the podium, like we saw with Ukraine in the men's.
So through the first 0.8 of the kilometre, 10 seconds separating our 21 bibs.
Going up steep hills like this, Ellen, it's horrible for those at the back who are forced to slow down, with the concertina effect affecting them even more so in conditions like these, because when brought to that very slow pace and forced to accelerate again, acceleration is so much harder when you're kicking off soft snow.
Well, the French team very well supported. Someone's found a drum, and you can hear the cries of Allez le Bleu as Lou Jean-Monod leads this train of athletes. Always so closely contended in the first lap of the relay, but this time round it is like Lou Jean-Monod in the same manner that she did at the World Championships, really trying to push the pace and string things out here.
Scottheim of Sweden, she's staying with that pace. But when she competed on the World Cup and she was part of the winning team on that occasion in the relay, her last target went down in stand, and there was a look of shock on her face that she had managed to achieve such great shooting under the pressure. But fantastic from Scottheim. Didn't quite match that performance at the European Championships with their 6th place there.
Yeah, Johannes Scottheim led out the team in Antholz. It is quite a different look team. Ella Halvorsen replaced today by Sala Andersen. Anna Magnusson took the third loaf that day, and Hannah Erberg, of course, you'll remember that collision with Ingrid Landmark Tandevold on the final leg for Norway, which cost them the opportunity to have a sprint finish for the gold medal. Now pushing the pace is Amy Berserger.
And something tells me Lou Jean-Monod has decided to settle down on this early lap, just go easy, and I'm surprised a little bit given the fact that she's very capable of hurting the field, but she might just be playing it strategically to open it out on the 2nd and 3rd loop of her leg. It's a very, very relaxed pace.
So into the stadium, and the range they come for the first time. 2 shooting stages per athlete, starting with the prone, then the stand, and 3 extra rounds available per shooting stage for the athletes. But Scott, as we've mentioned on a number of occasions, they may look like a get-out-of-jail-free card, but in reality, with that extra time you need to spend loading them, they can be really costly.
They can also lull the biathletes into a false sense of security, but the stakes are high, with the penalty loop being something of an embarrassment to some biathletes, even though it's very challenging. And the wind now, 20 kilometers and blustery. But here you can see this flag is almost static, so the graphic telling a different story to the visual of the actual flag. And that's because at different points on the range, the wind is different.
Belgium have gone down, it seems. That's like Mottali just going to the ground before she hit the mat.
Salting of the track there, making it conditions difficult.
Miss for Norway, Switzerland 2. 2 misses now for Norway. That is not a good start at all. Germany with a miss, Sweden with 2 misses, and France and Lou Jean-Monod are away. Austria clean, 5 for 5. Canada away. Italy as well. Slovakia. Germany can now exit the range. Norway just avoiding the penalty loop narrowly. All 3 extra rounds used by Carolina Offigstad Nottum. And look at this, Sweden left standing. One more bullet to ensure that Sweden stay out of the penalty loop. And but look at that, they will be the last to exit the range, of course avoiding the penalty loop, but wow, Scott, that is not what they needed at all.
No, it's a painful moment when you're left on the range all by yourself, just waiting to get that final shot down, especially when your neighbour there with Lou Jean-Monod shooting very low, managing to get all 5 targets down without the use of spares. All very wide shots, except for that last one, which went right in the middle.
But we speak a lot, Scott, about that Lou Jean-Monod focus, and even Suvi Minkkinen mentioned it after she won the single mixed relay in Oberhof, saying she just wanted to be like Lou Jean-Monod and really channel that focus. In comparison to what we've seen of Lou Jean-Monod over the course of this week and the World Championships, it certainly seems like that focus is back.
Yeah, every single result that comes up on her result sheet is top 10. She's so consistent, and look at that, absolutely brilliant technique. Her skate 2, or doppeldance as the Norwegians call it, is really a picture of perfection, and that is repeated very much in her shooting ability as well. A spare pole now being brought out to a biathlete who rejects the offer, having already received a spare round there. I believe that's the Austrian Rothskopf.
So the gap leaving shooting 2, or shooting 1 even, apologies, was 2.2 seconds, plenty of 2s in there. And let's take a look at 2.8 kilometres, how that gap may have grown. It certainly looks like it has done. And, well, the times there back it up. Samuela Komola and Italy in second, but now 7.6 seconds down on Lou Jean-Monod after leaving shooting 1. The gap is growing.
Yeah, and Sidorovic of Poland in 3rd place right now, amongst a pretty large group of those who shot successfully, but her in particular, she used a spare and has still managed to be up there. But now with Lou Jean-Monod opening up that leading pace, is going to see those amongst the chasers who are unable to stay with that speed.
Holding it very tight line to the corner there and just having to readjust her footing.
The drum banging in the woods there, probably a good replacement from the chainsaw that we've seen so many times, and perhaps the Czechian officials saying, no, we are proud of our forests and don't want that symbolism here, as that's one of the hallmarks of this event, these beautiful, dark, tall forests.
But they also have caused plenty of headaches for the wax techs as Lou Jean-Monod starts to come around this more icy section, Scott. We've had incredibly high temperatures, as high as 16 degrees when the men were racing in the relay today, but then we have these really icy patches through the forest that haven't seen much sun at all, and it can become quite treacherous in places.
Yeah, when the track gets salted, even when it's in the shade, there's still a lot of melt. As you can see here, a section of track that hasn't seen a great deal of sun, but still it's melting, and that's because, and you can see around the track where it's not built up, it's just gone. The winter fading quickly here in Czechia.
And the time advantage of Lou Jean-Monod opens up once again by just over 2 seconds now. Samuela Komala trying to drag this train of athletes, 4 behind her, back into the picture, and then a scattering out of athletes behind, including the USA, Germany, Norton of Norway, Minkkinen in there as well from Finland.
Hannah Puth struggling to stay with the pace, having only used 1 spare. She's 15.7 seconds back alongside Basurga, but ahead of Naughton. Those 3 mistakes or 3 spares used, taking a little bit extra time, but you can see how tightly packed that chasing group is.
Well and truly in her zone. Lou Jean-Monod, one of the first to come into shooting 2. Certainly from that wind flag, it looks like the wind has dropped. Don't be deceived though.
And that's the difficult or challenging part of this range today particularly. The wind conditions come up, they drop down, they come up, and we've seen it surprise the biathletes at the worst of times. So now Lou Jean-Monod, she's going to be paying close attention to the changing wind conditions. Just lovely, consistent shooting so far. That focus there looks good for a perfect 5 out of 5. That looked easy from Lou Jean-Monod.
Just in her flow. And plenty of reds appearing behind her. Finland away with Suvi Minkkinen. She'll go into second, followed by Canada, Czechia, Germany away as well. Now Switzerland can move off the mat, along with Austria, Poland. Norway only just now leaving the range. And Sweden only just arriving and pulling up to the mat. And Skottheim. And 2 misses once again for Sweden. 3 misses now. The crystal globe is slipping out of their hands, and so early on in this race. Italy away, having used all 3 of the spare rounds, and it will come down to the final 3 once again. Skottheim wants around the penalty loop, at least.
Now cumulatively for the Swedes, that's going to be a lot of penalty loops over the course of this race, and she'll be hoping now not to add any more to that tally. Thankfully, Skottheim, this is her final shoot for the day, but setting her team up for a struggle as the race goes by.
France dominance in the early stages, and look at that focus once again. Scott, she doesn't blink.
And the accuracy, that first shot going right in the middle of the target with a slightly fortunate edge shot on the 4th shot. It was just clipping the low right-hand side of the target, but enough of the round entered the target to get it down. Each target having a certain pressure threshold that once it's met will turn white. Doesn't have to be a direct hit.
These are results at the bottom of your screen after shooting 2 of 8. And just inside 15 seconds behind Lou Jean-Monod is Suvi Minkkinen. 2 extra rounds used for the Finn, who is just in such excellent form this season. Scott, she turned 30 in Kontiolahti, took her first medal, her first World Cup podium on home snow, and since then she just hasn't looked back.
Well, it's sometimes these biathletes, they come into form very early, very young, and can really prosper. For others, it takes longer to mature, and the likes of Minkkinen now, she is coming to her form and adds a little bit more stakes to the races when more nations are able to feature at the top of the results.
It's something we've spoken about a lot this season as well. It seems when one athlete does well in a team like Finland, it really drags up the expectations of those around them, and we've seen some really good individual performances from the Finnish team, and of course in the single mixed relay as well, that incredible victory in Oberhof, and then again in the races during the break between the World Championships and the start of trimester 3. Suvi Minkkinen and Talo Seppälä winning another single mixed relay in Sweden in the Olympic Stadium.
Well, look at that, Lo Giamano now really charging over this small knuckle that is enough to kill the momentum, but you can see there with Minkkinen deciding to go into the uphill technique, the skate 1. That just shows how Lo Giamano has the superior technique or ability to stay in the skate 2 technique, especially when it gets steep and difficult.
Islova of Czechia. Perfect 10 out of 10. And she's roared all the way around this course by the home fans. Just 9.6 seconds separating her and Lo Giamano. Part of the team that took that mixed relay silver medal on the first day of action at the World Championships. Czechia's best ever finish in a mixed relay.
Islova, she handed over in the World Championships in 4th place, so she's getting one up on that so far, but her team letting her down somewhat, finishing in 12th on that occasion.
Suvi Minkkinen really eating into the time of Lo Giamano over this final lap. It was 15.5 seconds when they left shooting 2, and now at 5.6 kilometres as we head towards the first changeover. It's 8.3 seconds between the Finn and the French woman who leads. Norway and Caroline Ofigstad Notten with 5 extra rounds used, down in 8th. There's the first exchange, and Lo Giamano tagging over to Oceane Michelon, who is in the form of her life. A first world medal claimed, and following up with her first podium on the World Cup. Suvi Minkkinen hands over to Sonja Leinamo. Was very quick, isn't she, Scott? One of the things about this Finnish team, they've not just improved their shooting accuracy, but particularly when you look at Leinamo, what she's doing on the skis as well is particularly impressive.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see some of these smaller nations with an absolutely fantastic ski speed, with Leinamo there -2 seconds or percent on average faster than most of the skiers here on the World Cup. Very quick skiing.
Well, Lotte Lee handing over a little bit further back than she would have wanted to Maya Klottens. Both these Belgian women performing really well on the World Cup so far this season, at the World Championships as well. But Lotte Lee just taking a fall before the first shoot and disrupting the momentum that Belgium had. Still only 2 extra rounds used.
So impressed with the Finn managing to stay not just with Lo Giamano's time, but actually closing that gap. That's a real feat, especially given the fact that Lo Giamano skied so quickly in the pursuit, 4th fastest ski time, and Minkkinen all the way down in 22nd fastest ski time, 1 minute and 5 seconds down off the lead there.
Only just now does Sweden hand over. They're down in 17th already. 1 penalty loop and 6 extra rounds used. Anna Magnusson has plenty of work to do here. Switzerland and Poland side by side, trying to bridge the gap to Finland. But it is Oceane Michelon and France leading.
Well, Michelon knows how to handle the pressure, having done so already with that amazing victory at the World Championships in the relay. But it's so difficult when you're competing for a team like France, and the expectation is for total success. And as a result of that pressure, so many of these teams ending up on the penalty loop. It's always the case in relays, the dreaded loop that so many fight so hard to stay off, and it's in the course of all of that effort not to go around the loop that so many find themselves on it.
Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold down in 8th. They're making good progress for Norway.
I think a really sensible place there to have Tandevold going in the second leg. We saw her stand shooting in the pursuit with 5 mistakes of 10. That's a 50% hit rate. We know that she struggles with stand. And putting her leg 2 at least takes off the pressure to have the great start that leg 1 requires and the great finish that leg 4 requires. Leg 2 is the perfect spot for Tandevold.
Of course, Oceane Michelon, as you mentioned, Scott, taking the gold medal in Lenzerheide as part of the quartet. She was given the nod fairly late on. It was always going to come down to who had performed better between her and Jan Richard over the course of the World Championships. And owing to that, it was Michelon who got the nod. And then, of course, going on the next day to take the silver medal in the mass start, and then to come off of the World Championships. And what you imagine would be the absolute highs as well of your career, but it also, those moments can be quite emotionally draining. To then back it up with a podium in the pursuit, it seems, as we've said on a number of occasions, that being given the nod to compete in a quartet in a team like France, the same with the Norwegian men, it can really do wonders to an athlete's confidence.
Well, we saw with Lombardo, he had a wonderful pursuit, 1 mistake in the very first visit to the range and 3 perfect clears thereafter. It's the likes of Michelon and Richard and Lombardo and Uldal. These names are the names of the future.
Gascolan bringing Switzerland up into 3rd. She's pursued by Lisa Theresa Hauser, who had her best finish of the season in the sprint to finish 5th.
And on the topic of those with potential, Plechakova, the 3rd leg for Czechia today, who I hope that we will see feature. She's had some amazing success at the Youth Junior World Champs, and the individual claiming a victory in that race with 3 penalty loops, so she really does know how to ski quickly.
She's still 18 years old. She's someone we highlighted before we got into the racing. It's Tereza Verbornikova, who is on this leg for Czechia. And that silver medal in the mixed relay at the World Championships.
A slightly different psychological dynamic now for Michelon to contend with. She has a big lead and she will be some halfway through her shoot when Lianamo of Finland joins her on the mat. It's nice controlled shooting, 2 big breaths between every shot and pausing on the target to release the trigger, and it's a lovely 5 out of 5 there from Michelon, showing her potential and her brilliance in spite of the effort and the challenge presented by the competing teams.
First miss for Lianamo. Away. Tandevold with a miss. Austria and Switzerland also with misses. Czechia with an opportunity. Finland now away. Czechia clean, Poland clean, Germany, Canada also clean. The USA away as well now. Austria, Switzerland, Norway all piling out of the range at the same time.
Wow, the flags were almost completely still there, and partly as a consequence, look how many teams now just in a straight line, almost as if we were on the leg 1 and it was a mass start. And Dorothea Vera struggling now. She has 3 spare rounds but 2 targets remaining. She manages to get the first with the first. Now 2 rounds and 1 target for the Italian.
And she's finally away.
Michelon has all the momentum and discipline. And look out at the lovely craftsmanship of her rifle stock there. These wooden stocks customized to fit the hand. adjusted to the individual and refined over many hours until it's the perfect fit.
So Michelon in France leading Finland by 28.5 seconds. Czechia sat in third, 33 seconds back.
And as this camera gets lower here, you're going to see just how steep this hill is. It's brutally hard, but you can also see the snow is fairly compact at this point in the race, having been well salted and attended to by the IBU officials.
And a huge amount of attention being given to this course over the last 4 days, with incredibly high temperatures here in Czechia. And we're now being reeled in.
The weather now still 13 degrees Celsius. That is quite temperature to be racing in. These athletes will be wanting a drink, but in 7.5 kilometer sprint distance, it's not possible to waste that time on consuming water.
Handrold coming around the outside of Aita Gasperlant, Chloe Levins, forcing her way up into sixth. There's a gap between her and Bornikova of Czechia, who is in fifth now. Lisa Halse and Julia Tannheimer have connected with the back of the skis of Sonja-Lene Mo.
And 8 teams still within just 18 seconds of one another. That is, at this point in the race, quite rare, in part due to the wind conditions really settling. But now an opportunity for Tandrevold of Norway to close down in on the leaders, but a challenge, particularly as it comes to stand shooting.
And it doesn't seem like Julia Tannheimer is hanging around at all.
Tannheimer, she is just -3. That's the percentage of ski speed ahead of the average skier on any given race, which is rapid. With Liane Mo, she's -2%. Hauser, -1%. So that's a bit of perspective on just how fast Tannheimer is skiing this season.
.32 seconds. Tannheimer, number 2 behind her trail, Oceane Michelon. Gap opening by around a second and a tenth.
Tannheimer managing to close the gap just a little bit, down from 36.4 to 32, so 4.4 seconds on Michelon. That's a very hefty pace to be putting on the second leg here, or second lap of the second leg. And I hope that she's able to withstand the shaking knees that we've seen so many athletes being victim of in the stand shooting so far today, even in just the relay, the men's relay.
Such a physically demanding course, regardless of anything else, but the warm weather's making it particularly softer underfoot. Oceane Michelon in for her final shoot.
And now the wind flags are settled. First shot goes down, rapid fire. It's accurate. And it's 5 out of 5. It looks so easy for Michelon, and she skips out and looks gleefully up at the screen.
It is such a masterclass that she's just put on in terms of the standing shoot. You mentioned it, Scott. The challenges that we're seeing, particularly the standing shoot, after the athletes have given everything around the course. What she did there was very special, and it will likely open a gap up, because just purely based off her speed through the range. Austria and Germany start off well. A miss for Finland. very quick shooting from Lisa Toulouse-Hauser, who is 5 for 5 and away. Germany into the extra rounds. Czechia clean, as are Switzerland. Germany now away. Tandrevold joining them just slightly off the pace. 1 extra round used, 2 for Finland, and well, the Finn will have to be perfect here to make sure she avoids the penalty loop. USA away.
Great shooting there from Levin. She's going to claw back a lot of time, and Tandrevold will be relieved. She has managed to avoid the penalty loop, but not so much for Finland. They will be going around.
Yep, once around the penalty loop for Finland. Their first visit to the loop. The top 7 so far, all without a visit to the penalty loop, and Czechia are perfect so far, as are France.
They're going for the world record, perhaps. It's possible.
No extra rounds used. We haven't seen a perfect 40 race.
Look at the accuracy there from Hauser. That was really an example of how the quality of shooting to be able to hit the prone ring, which there's an extra metal layer that makes the target smaller for shooting in prone. And the fact that she is able to put 3 out of her 5 shots in that prone ring is just amazing skill.
She had that excellent 2021 season, Lisa Toulouse-Hauser, and it's really great to see her featuring once again in flower ceremonies, regularly in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, she's been a great biathlete who transitioned from cross-country skiing back before the Presque Isle Junior World Championships all those years ago, and has adopted and learned the shooting skill because it's so much easier to learn shooting than it is to learn skiing, but it's so much harder to master shooting than it is to master skiing.
Well, we see that so regularly, don't we, over the course of the World Cup, with so many transitioning. And it is such a difficult sport, getting that balance right, and it needs to be perfect.
Michelon is putting on a great show in this last lap so far, opening a gap over Tandrevold, one of the fastest skier on the track, by 2.2 seconds. Tannheimer also losing time, Hauser's losing time. Michelon really fueled by the adrenaline of that perfect 10.
6 teams, or 5 teams within a minute of Ocean Michelon.
And just look at how dirty the snow is through the forest section here. The wax technicians working hard to find a combination of waxes that repel those dirty, the dirty conditions, but then also cut through the water with a nice structure. It's not an easy balance. Tandrevold is on the hunt. Once again, Michelon doing the lovely doppel dance, the skate 2 over this hill as she charges in towards the exchange. So strong and driving her elbows back, utilizing the back muscles rather than the smaller muscles of the arms.
Justine Brassard-Boucher will be next up for France. Newly crowned sprint world champion. Of course, the same order and same quartet that we had in Lenzerheide, the team that took gold. They haven't won on the World Cup this season, and as things stand, with Sweden being so far down the order, currently running in 14th, they will take the Crystal Globe on the final race of the season in the women's relay.
Tannheimer really doing well to stay ahead of Tandrevold so far in this lap. Tandrevold has been hunting down the German but failing to close the gap.
A brilliant leg from Austria and Lisa Toulouse-Hauser. Handing over to Tamala Steiner. Job well done from Julia Tannheimer as well. Schneider picks up the baton for Germany. Ranhild Ben Steinovik for Norway. And Plechikova for Czechia. And Scott, you mentioned it, just 18 years old, the individual gold medalist, bronze mass start 60 and sprint bronze medalist as well at Junior Worlds. This is just her second World Cup start, but certainly one that we've got eyes on for the future. And she was included in the Czech team that ran out in Lenzerheide, and at the time we sort of mentioned it as they're using it as a quick altitude camp before they went on to the Worlds, but it certainly paid off for the youngster.
Yeah, she is a super talent. To be able to win a gold medal with an extra 2 minutes and 15 seconds added in penalties in an individual race, of course the penalty being 45 seconds instead of a minute for those youths. She is a superstar, and I think now to have the opportunity to race in front of her home audience will be inspired for the next decade of hard training.
They have been very noisy indeed. It's always a great atmosphere here in Nove Mesto. The night races bring a different edge and certainly a different vibe, but it's one that the athletes always speak about loving.
Sweden so far back down the order, over 2 minutes and 23 seconds, the kind of time that would leave you assuming they've been around the loop 4 or 5 times, but actually just once, and the use of 7 spares. So Sweden struggling now without their usual quartet.
Oh, so disappointing. You'd imagine Johanna Skottheim will feel so much disappointment because of that first leg. She led out so well in Antholz, and but this time round it just didn't go their way at all. Wins in Antholz and Kontiolahti.
And I suspect that's got something to do with Skottheim's expectations. She would have had the result in the European Championship with a 6th place on that occasion, and going through her mind might have been, well, I did it in Antholz and therefore I can do it again here in Nove Mesto. But that is the worst mentality to approach a race with, and of course we don't know what she was thinking, but those kind of poisonous thoughts can really pull the rug from beneath your feet.
And also just be so costly as well. Anna Magnusson had a quick leg 2. She is 5th fastest and was really trying her best to claw back some of the deficit. Only 1 extra round used for Anna Magnusson. Yeah,
and Austria doing fantastic today, and Hauser really owing a lot of credit to her for the success so far. Steiner now in a tricky position, 51.3 seconds down on France, but currently the 2nd place, hard position to maintain, particularly when you're being chased by Germany and Norway.
Elisa Gasparin on this leg for Switzerland, her final relay race of her career. She'll retire at the end of the season, having experienced a final World Championships on home snow, and of course being so important to the success of the Swiss relay team, part of the first team to take a relay medal, and then backed it up with another. She and her sisters, of course, have been such a key part, the real spearhead of biathlon in Switzerland.
The Swiss team, of course, having a good chance today to do well. That's alongside Czechia. Italy in 8th place, 2 minutes and 8 seconds back. They've dropped a lot further down than you would have assumed, especially given the fact that Dorothea Viera was the 2nd leg for Italy and having done so well in the sprint.
Only Germany and Austria within a minute of the time of Brassard Boucher, who is on this 3rd leg for France. Julia Simon will take on the final leg. Steiner coming through now in 56 seconds from Steinvik, 59, and Sophia Schneider just on the back of this trio, 60 seconds behind Brassard Boucher.
Femstanovic, one of the fastest skiers on the track in the pursuit. She had the 10th fastest ski time, just behind Chavot and Lampic, who we talked so much about as being one of the quickest former cross-country skier.
Justine Brassard-Boucher with a 56-second advantage going in for her first shoot, the shoot 5 of 8.
The wind flags are completely static. And take a look at the end of her barrel as it rises up onto the target. Pause and shoot.
A miss.
Top right. And another one at the top right, all on the right-hand side, suggesting that the absence of wind is throwing the shots off, and that really is not a good start there for Brassard-Boucher.
She needs to be perfect to avoid the penalty loop.
She will not know that all of the shots are falling to the right. If she continues with that accuracy, she can get the targets down. Good central shot.
Well, the first athlete to go into the extra rounds for France. All 3 used. You can see on the face of Sophie Chavot there just how close it was.
Yeah.
But she gets away without having to use the penalty loop.
The total absence of wind having a totally different effect on these biathletes. Take a look at the consequences. They zeroed with more wind, and now if they haven't responded to the clicks, if necessary, they could see some more misses. Norway.
Switzerland having responded really well, only now just dropped 1. Norway away. As are Austrian now. Czechia with 2 misses. Germany can finally break the position.
And that was a tense moment for all of those nations there. It's amazing that an absence of wind can be so intimidating, as you hear the roar from the crowd there for the youth who's now joined the team. As Petrikova gets out. So far so good. It's much harder to adapt to an absence of wind than it is to adapt to an increase.
Yeah, it was France and Czechia, the only 2 teams who had a perfect record up to that point. But Scott, you put it so brilliantly. And well, if you're the likes of Julia Simon, Malin Čekaida, Hannah Öberg, I'm sure you're getting plenty of direction at this point from the coaches about this drop of wind.
Anderson now for Sweden, coming into, a miss on the penalty loop now for USA. But Anderson managing to get 3 of her first 4, and 4 out of 5 now. She came from having a gold medal at the Junior World Champs in the Mastart 60, an exciting new format. Sweden go out, Finland they're out, as well as Italy and Poland. Lots of spares in use.
Sweden now into the top 10 for the first time in this race.
Femstanovic there, just putting her poles on. She's doing very well to fight to close down the gap. 38.6 seconds behind Brassard-Boucher, exiting the range, but failing to maintain the speed of the French lady, now 43.4 at the 14.8 kilometre mark, suggesting Brassard-Boucher, she's in good form.
She looked excellent, didn't she, Scott, at the World Championships, and very much like Julia Simon. We spoke about it after the pursuit. They both have had such poor starts to the season. To come back and do what they did at the World Championships, my first thought afterwards was this is really going to shake things up for the end of the season on the World Cup, and they have both come back and continue to perform so well.
it's so hard to decide whether you want to be in form all season, whether you want to peak for the World Championships. Of course, in form all season really is a contradiction in terms because no such thing exists. But you can plan to be on average faster on each individual World Cup than you would do if you tried to peak for the World Championships, as we know Lagride is doing for Norway, and as such had a disappointing, in his terms, World Championships.
And with that in mind, of course, a reminder, no Franziska Preuss for Germany today. Despite that, though, still holding third position. Schneider.
Well, we saw with Italy low expectations for the Italians in the men's race, and that saw them up in third place until the final leg, which saw them drop down with Biathlon having a slightly less than satisfactory performance twice around the loop. And I just love how the French tackle the course. They are just so consistently doing the pole plant on both sides, left and right, skate 2 technique, over so many of these inclines, suggesting that that is the future technique that so many of the chasing nations will adopt in the years to follow.
It's almost a perfect replica of what the French women did at the World Championships, this tactic. First into shooting 6. Stine Brossard-Boucher, a 42-second advantage at the last time check. No one else coming into shooting 6 at this point.
There's a gentle fluttering of the wind flags, nothing too sinister so far. And now this orbital camera on a long stick, appearing to be very close to the biathletes, but a distraction that Brossard-Boucher knows how to handle. And that edge shot on the top left being very close. Wow, just too fast. The last shot was snatched and was way too urgent relative to the previous 4.
So 4 extra rounds used in total for Justine Brossard-Boucher, but in reality, no real time lost. Prem Steinevik only now pulling up to the match. She came in 44.7 seconds behind Justine Brossard-Boucher. Gap between her and Sophie Schneider.
You can see the end of the barrel moving onto the target just before striking. The objective not to hold steady on the target, but to move onto the target. Stand shooting, almost impossible to hold the rifle completely steady. Good shooting there from the Norwegian.
For Germany, Switzerland and Austria. All missing on the second. Another miss for Austria. Germany, Switzerland. Reloading the extra rounds. And Germany away with Schneider. Switzerland follow with Elisa Gaspalan. Steiner has to wait until she can join them. That's on the first for Czechia.
And you hear the crowd roaring for Plechikova there. That is pressure for the 18-year-old, and look at that, she handled it beautifully, managing to get the final target down with the first spare.
Well, it's great to see Marketa Davidova return in the sprint. She didn't start in the pursuit, unfortunately, but when you look at the success she's had, Scott, and then these new names coming forward next season, with both of them hopefully competing on the World Cup, could be something quite exciting for Czechia, who, boosted by that silver medal at the Worlds, really at times looking like an outfit that's quite exciting.
Yeah, and Davidova, she really does have to be careful though. Herniated disc is no joke, and she did experience some back pain reportedly after her race just a couple days ago in the sprint. And if she aggravates that, it can just prolong the recovery time. And biathletes have to have good condition of the body and mind to be able to come back, as you say, next year, Ellen, to have some success.
So the gap leaving shooting 6 was 44.2 seconds between Femstanovic and Brassard Boucher. This is the 16.8 kilometre mark. And coming through it is Femstanovic. Time check halfway up the climb.
Now Femstanovic losing time. It was a good start. And into the shooting range, 44.7. Out of the shooting range, 44.2. No difference there. But now 3 seconds have already gone down the drain for the Norwegian, and that doesn't increase their chances of touching the absolute favourite of today, the French team, who just are exceptional.
Also losing time is Schneider of Germany, which will come as some encouragement for Norway and Femstanovic. And then further back as well, losing even more time, is Elisa Gaspelan and Switzerland.
And I think this could easily be the highlight performance. Plechakova in front of her home crowds, one of the youngest in the field. And hear the support as the crowd are roaring up here. The screens being an opportunity for all of the fans to keep it up to date on what's happening in the stadium, and enabling thousands of supporters to get around the course.
And the best record, the best shooting record today, Czechia by some margin, just 3 extra rounds used.
Wow.
As a team, Justine Brassard-Boucher has 4, and well, that's the total for France, with Lou Jean-Monod and Oceane Michelon going clean. 10 or 9 extra rounds used for Femstanovic and Norway as a team, and Sophie Schneider's Germany with 6.
Brassard-Boucher really did everything she needed to, and will be delighted to be handing over to Julia Simon. Her work is done.
And Simon in turn, Scott, of course, will be delighted that she's being handed over to with this margin.
And it's so easy when spectating to just think, oh, well, of course, biathlon is a hard sport. But the bodies of every single one of these athletes are absolutely in turmoil at the end of their leg. The pain is just extreme, and it's worsened by the fact that the conditions here in Nove Mesto are hideous. 13 degrees, I'm using all my biggest words. I have my thesaurus out because it just is that difficult here in Nove Mesto.
Well, you can see there was a prime example of a brilliant angle of that shot of the marks and the tracks left in the snow from the skis as Raniel Femstanovic hands over to Malin Čerkaida, with Norway comfortably, for now, in the silver medal position. A really solid leg for Sophie Schneider. 6 extra rounds used for the German team as a whole.
Subverting expectations so far, almost just having a fairly neutral performance, but were it not for the fact that they are definitely not the A team that Germany can put forward, they certainly are exceeding expectation.
And they have Selina Glottienne on the final leg as well. We might even try and push to close the gap to Norway. I'm sure with it's around 25 seconds, she will be trying to close that gap. And roared home. The young Czech. Plechakova will hand over to Lucy Sharavatova. Scott, we speak about it a lot. There's such a difference between racing on the junior level, on the IBU Cup, and then stepping up to the senior level. Just how good an opportunity is this for this young athlete who has shown so much promise to have some of her early experiences in a relay.
Yeah, it's a risky opportunity because it's a huge amount of pressure to put such a young biathlete under. And Anderson, she's 22 years old and still young and competing at the junior level, to come here and try and withstand the pressure of the crowd, competing for your nation, which is felt ever more strongly by the fact that you are being literally cheered for every single shot. The judgment is cast on you like a spotlight by the crowd with every cheer and gasp of disappointment when the shot doesn't go down. So I think it was a really, it was a bold move to put Kletchakova in there, but I am so glad that they did, and she absolutely nailed it.
Yep. And we see Sweden hand over in 8th. 10 extra rounds, 1 penalty loop for Sweden so far. They find themselves 2 minutes 41 down with 1 leg to go. And well, the permutations for the Crystal Globe is if France win, France needed Sweden to finish lower than second for the point swing to go in their favour. And as things stand, it will be France who take away the relay Crystal Globe.
Lena Heike Grossner with the technique, skate one of her favourite techniques, and an amazing ability to make this hill look easy. It is so steep, and that's why we have fans on either side, because this is when you can really experience, and only to a small degree, just how much the track actually hurts. And if you, like I, get breathless walking up the stairs, then you can see the angle of track here. It's so cruel.
Sabatova hugging that far side and soaking up all the support from the fans.
Hannah Öberg now on the chase, and Alcantara won't be best pleased to find out that she has the company of Hannah, who has had some really great success with her second place in the pursuit, a long time coming.
Yeah, she'll be carrying a huge amount of confidence into this race after what was emotionally and physically draining end to the World Championships, finishing last in the mass start on the same ways that Elvira took her first world title. It was one of the pictures of the World Championships, a truly emotional moment. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house as Hannah reached for the Swedish flag, and you could see Elvira sobbing as her sister came towards the line.
Such a great moment. And now such a high pressure moment for Julia Simon.
She does have the time though. The last time check, 19.6 kilometers, 51 seconds separating her and Malin Čerkaida.
And that's the beauty of biathlon. She has the time. Famous last words that can so often be counted back on. We saw it with Svensson at the Olympics in Sochi. He had all the time in the world, and that can make the pressure higher, especially with all those misses top right. She has received the memo. Those shots are very central until I said it, until that miss. Again, top right, following in the footsteps of her former leg.
Well, there we go, job done, and job more than done. Just 1 extra round used, and France are away. And, well, Scott, the time that she lost in reloading that extra round, she would have gained elsewhere just by how quick she was through the first 3.
Yes, and it remains to be seen whether it's possible for her to have gone too fast and she might lose time, but now Čerkaida will get a good sense of where she is in relation to Julia Simon. But another high pressure moment for the Norwegian.
19 seconds separating her and Selina Glottiani will pull up alongside her. Good start for the Norwegian though.
Looks easy. She's taking her time and disciplined, controlled breathing, and gets all 5 targets down. The Norwegian, she's still on the hunt.
Yep, job well done. Can Selina Grothien follow? 1 miss for the German. Lena Hecki-Gross pulling up alongside her. Wants to take advantage for Switzerland. They've only used 5 extra rounds so far, the Swiss team.
And now struggling to get that second shot down for Grothien. And every second mattering a lot. She gets it down finally. Had to use 2 spare rounds to do it.
Yeah, helped by the fact that Lena Hecki-Gross has missed 1 as well, and that's now 2.
As Austria pull in by the side of the Swiss. And it just shows how tight it is in this relay. And the closer it is, the more pressure you feel on the shooting range, knowing that every wasted second as Hecki-Gross gets out. That's lovely shooting there from Juppé of Austria. No spares required. And the roar of the crowd, it is so loud. And fantastic there. Great recovery with Sharvatova.
Look at this though, 2 misses for Sweden. Italy starting with 2 as well. 3 now for Hanna Ockenthaler, while Hanna Öberg loads the extra rounds. So Italy have to be perfect from here on in to avoid the loop.
It's quick reloading from Hanna Öberg. She gets out very well. That's 5 for 7. A big pressure shot now for Ockenthaler. She needs this, and she knows that she needs this, or it's the loop. She gets it. Relief surging through her veins.
Taking a look back at the first shoot of our final legs. The gap closed slightly between Malin Kukaider and Julia Simon. Kukaider able to wait 3 seconds into Simon as they come through the 20.8 kilometre mark. And Selina Grothien also improving on this second lap for the 4th leg athletes.
And although Julia Simon has got a 48.1 second advantage, I would never be as calm and relaxed as to say that it's possible or likely for her to maintain all of it. We've seen so many occasions in the past where the leading team succumbs to the pressure just with the complacency, or perhaps the complacency, I can't read minds, but the apparent complacency of coming in with such a cushion, giving a false sense of security.
Switzerland and Austria now through 20.8 kilometres. Czechia roared up this climb. Sharvatova. Oh, Czechia with only 4 misses on the day, and one of those attributed to the athlete on this 4th leg.
That's really great shooting, especially with the pressure. But I also suspect that the crowd cheering can serve as something of an assistance to the rhythm. If you imagine that every shot you have to do the equal number of breaths between that shot, but sometimes the adrenaline of a hit can make you rush to get the next shot away. But the crowd almost serving as a time-keeping measure, enabling you to maintain that rhythm between every single shot.
Metronomic crowd.
Metronomic crowd.
I admit I haven't thought of it in that way before, but you do make it a very good point.
But then the counter flip of the coin there is that it also does add a heck of a lot of pressure that they've managed to hit very well despite having on their shoulders.
Yeah, 5,000 people screaming at me from behind. I would also feel a fair bit of pressure. Selina Grothien coming through 12.6 kilometres. She's at 1:16 behind the pace of Julia Simon, very happy at the moment. Ingrid Landmark-Vandervold, who had a very good leg indeed to help her team get up to this point where they find themselves second. It is Julia Simon who leads, 47.5 seconds. This the final shoot. One hand on just not just the win, but the Crystal Globe as well for the relay.
Wow, it's looking so easy. 5 out of 5. She can take her time, soak up this moment.
Acknowledges the crowd. Her teammates there behind her. And, well, Scott, she's done this over and over again this season. It is just special to see Julia Simon perform like that on the final leg. And what she has done just there has secured her team, no doubt, the Crystal Globe in the relay for the second time in 3 seasons.
I love it. I love the cheering and celebrating around the course. But will Kirkeide be able to match that energy? An edge shot for her second shot. And that last miss, quite a tense miss. Miss of some 4 or 5 centimeters. And another one, it's an edge, and now she hears the pole's drop of the German, Grottian, but the hit goes down.
You can see the relief on the face of Ingrid Landmark-Vandervold there, just takes a step back, takes a deep breath. Selina Grottian for 3rd place for Germany without Franziska Preuss, and she does it.
That is fast shooting, and now the chase is actually on. Kirkeide of Norway really has some work to do, 12 seconds advantage.
Selina Grottian will be on the charge to prove that without Franziska Preuss they can still deliver. They haven't done that so far this season. They're slipping out the grasp of Switzerland and Austria, and even further now a miss for Lena Haki-Gross. Schuper as well missing. They're now joined by Shvatova.
Switzerland, what a great result from them. We did think that there was a good chance at the start of the day, but now it's come to fruition. Heike Gross there taking her team to what looks like a 4th place, as Czechia now, you hear the rhythm from the crowd, the metronome is underway.
Hannah Öberg pulling up.
She can seize back 2 places here, but needs to focus on her process and not that fact.
2 more misses now for Sweden. Penalty loop for Czechia, and for Austria.
Painful.
It could be another for Czechia if they don't hit this.
Equally, it is for Sweden as well. Wow.
Opportunity for Italy, 2 penalty loops for Czechia, just painful. 1 for Sweden. A miss for Hanna Rocchenthaler of Italy.
And that's so hard to watch after Czechia had such incredible shooting all the way through the race until the very last time of asking.
Italy finally away. And we will follow Hanna Rocchenthaler out of the range. Julia Simon leading. She's done enough to secure France the relay Crystal Globe. Last won it in the 22-23 season. She blows a kiss. Her teammates there behind, including those who didn't make the relay today. Sophie Chauveau, Jean Richard there, and of course then the crowd who have supported her all the way round. Selina Grottian emerging from the range in 3rd.
Grottian actually losing time to Kirkeide of Norway. It was 12 seconds, it's become 18 approximately, and that's not a good sign. Kirkeide obviously on good skiing form. And now this is a kindness from Julia Simon. If she goes past the Ukrainian, it means they're pulled out of the race.
So we already have 4 lap teams, and you can see here, as you say, Scott, a kind of kindness from Julia Simon. She had slowed down. I noticed it while we were focused on the range, and she takes a look over her shoulder. She won't want to do this to the extent that it jeopardises her race, but she will hang for now behind the Ukrainian to encourage Makushnia to keep going.
And you can see she's just cruising up this hill, and she's taking it easy. Meanwhile, poor Makushnia is working as hard as she possibly can, and only just managing to pull away from Simon.
She picks up the French flag, the tricolour, attached to a ski pole there from Jean Richard, who's been off doing some handiwork while she's not included in the relay team. And France will be victorious for the first time on the World Cup this season. The world champions do it here in Nove Mesto. And to the extent that with Sweden falling so far behind, they will take the Crystal Globe in the relay 2 times in 3 years. And Julia Simon, once again on the final leg, the anchor, and she always brings the entertainment.
I was done with such class, and although, you know, I tried to raise the stakes with the possibility of misses, she went and hit all 5 with ease.
Norway will take the silver medal.
Czechia there embracing her team with Tandrevold among them, and I think such a great day again for Tandrevold, managing to get the targets down in large part, particularly in the stand.
And in terms of teams stepping up, Germany without Franziska Preuss, but securing a bronze medal. A huge step up from this quartet when you look at the results without Franziska Preuss this season in the relay. They only did enough to finish 8th in Antholz, but on the podium today, Joanna Puff, Julia Tannheimer, Sophia Schneider and Selina Glottian. And well, 4th just seems to be the number for Lena Haki-Gross and Switzerland. Off the podium once again, but Scott, overall you have to say good performance from the Swiss team.
Well, we were looking at the team and thinking it looked strong, but there's a difference between looking strong and then actually managing to claim the result. Today, Switzerland, despite the pressure, despite the conditions, they managed to secure a very well-earned 4th place.
8 extra rounds used. They avoided the penalty loop, the same shooting record as Germany. 5 extra rounds used by France. Look over the shoulder for Anna Juppe of Austria, who will see Hannah Erberg lurking behind her, but I think she will run out of real estate. I think this will be the limit.
Well, Hannah doesn't appear to think so.
Another look over the shoulder. She has done enough. And now Anna Erberg will concede that it won't come down to a sprint finish for 5th. And Sweden falling well below the mark of what they would have needed to do today to secure the Crystal Globe that they had one hand on at the start of the day. Italy across the line in 7th. And Czechia roared home. Solid top 10 finish. It will be 8th for the home team. Two penalty loops, 7 extra rounds used.
They all fell apart, except for, not for Plechkova, but for Charvatova, just at the final visit to the stand shooting.
Poland will have the edge on Bulgaria. Latvia across the line. Finland just taking a look over the shoulder. Karanka. The final leg for Finland. 1 penalty loop 9 extra rounds used. 4 lap teams.
Kristeva of Bulgaria, another young athlete who's come all the way from the Junior World Championships. Competing well, particularly in the mixed relays with Dimitrova, also of Bulgaria.
Slovakia across the line in 13th. Lemonova on the final leg. Nadia Moser of Canada will be next to come towards the line. Both Slovakia and Canada, Scott staying out of the penalty loop.
And that really shining a spotlight on the top teams and how fast they must be skiing relatively to the Canadians, just by virtue of the fact that Canada, without any penalty loops, was 5 minutes and 9 seconds back from the likes of even Austria, who were 2 minutes and 47 back. But still, a good performance from the Canadians. Great shooting in very hard conditions. The skiing conditions really feeding into the shooting conditions and the challenge there. So a huge accomplishment on a day like today to stay off the penalty loop.
Marjorie Freed of the USA. They make 3 visits to the penalty loop. But Scott, for plenty of these teams further back, it's not always a given that they will get across the finish line. And sometimes coming across the line without being lapped is certainly something worth celebrating. Disappointment for Belgium today. It just didn't start in the way they would have wanted. Bid number 20 doing enough to avoid being lapped across the line in 16th and staying out of the penalty loop with 10 extra rounds used. Melissa Emmons on the final lap, just 19 years old.
Freed of America actually managing to claim back some time on Emmons of Belgium on the last lap, starting behind as they came out of the shooting range.
And our final athletes and team out on the course. Kushnia.
Probably not thankful that Julia Simon didn't go past. Probably wanted to step to the side and say, crack on. I'm quite happy not to do another lap around this brutalist of courses. But here she is now, making her way towards the finish line, having endured it one final time.
Alexandra Kushina, the 20-year-old, coming towards the line. 4th in the relay team at the Junior Worlds with Ukraine. Took a bronze medal in the mass start 60. And Julia Simon sitting behind her to allow Ukraine to finish the race. And our final team across the line in 17th. Well, look at the results there, Scott. France taking another dominant victory. 25 seconds the gap in the end, but that's slightly misleading as Julia Simon stuck behind the final athlete out on the course to ensure that she wasn't lapped. Norway taking an impressive silver medal, and Germany, without Franziska Preuss, taking 3rd. But once again from France, in the same manner that we saw at the World Championships, Scott, it's so hard to fault them.
It is, and yeah, that World Championship performance from France was just exceptional. And Marin Shirkaida of Norway, she knows what it's like to come across the line behind the French, but we'll be gutted that it was a minute at the World Championship and much less than that this time. Nevertheless, the French untouchable with just that incredible shooting performance as well as skiing.
Well, the quartet who have delivered France the Crystal Globe, being congratulated by those not in the team as Norway refuel, and Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold spots herself on the big screen, taking on some much needed carbs. Well, Scott, this particularly an impressive performance from Germany, a quartet that we've seen struggle without the guidance and the leadership that Franziska Preuss brings, but by themselves today delivering a bronze medal for their nation.
A brilliantly earned bronze medal, and a surprising one, but Gaussian managing to hold together the pressure very well in that final visit to the range. The Norwegians with Tandvold, she had an exceptional race, and so glad to see her part of even more success, one of the most loved by athletes, back from so much struggle and doing so well now once again on the World Cup.
I think with this result as well, along with gold medal of course in the sprint, she will take a lot of positives from this weekend. But in terms of the standout performers, it has been France.
Michelon with that smile after she got all 10 shots down in this, the 5 shots in the stand. Delight with once again her ability and process paying off.
Well, Julia Simon becoming such a figure in this final leg for France. So much entertainment she brings, and a class move from her today to ensure that Ukraine weren't lapped, and a makeshift French flag attached to a ski pole. We can hear from her now.
Julia, what a way to finish the final women's relay of this season, to cross the finish line with the flag. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was an amazing race from the team, so I had to finish this great job, and really happy to win this last relay and to win the globe for the overall of the relay. It's amazing.
After the last shooting, you waved to the crowd. They were really amazing here. How can you rate them? Because yesterday you also said that they're quite special here.
Yeah, it's they're just crazy, you know, and they cheer for everyone, and yeah, it's one of the most incredible atmosphere. So I'm really happy to race here and to have good results here. Yeah, I think I'm lucky to have this good result here.
Thank you so much. Enjoy and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, she loves racing here, Julia Simon, and her entertaining final leg has helped France secure the Crystal Globe for the relay, the second time in 3 seasons. Well, Scott, it was in the balance, but in the end, it was always going to be so hard to bet against France.
Yeah, on paper, they're such a strong team. The statistics over the past days all pointing towards France. In course time, shooting accuracy, shooting speed, every single box was ticked by the French team, and with some of their competitors losing out on some of their best athletes, Germany with Preuss, Elvira Öberg was not competing for Sweden. It made it even harder for the competition to stand a chance, Norway getting the closest in the end.
Well, the updated results in the Nations Cup as well for the women. France leading the way from Germany and Sweden. Well, I see Czechia up in ninth there, Scott, and it has been once again a really well delivered event here in Nove Mesto, having to overcome a huge amount of challenges with regards to the warm weather. The crowd have turned up, and the Czech athletes have really shone as well.
They have, and the main name from the Czech lineup that stood out for me is Plechikova, managing to put together a great performance in front of thousands of on-watching, cheering fans. That takes some real gumption.
Well, the stand's starting to empty here in Nove Mesto, but plenty of the fans sticking behind.
Oui, c'est bien parce que sinon ça aurait tué la course. Bravo. Oh merde.
For the first time on the World Cup this season, and for the final time, France leading out the flower ceremony. A lovely moment seeing Jean-Pierre Amat, the French shooting coach, celebrate with his team, and particularly loud bravo going the way of Oceane Michelon, who has sit perfectly into this French quartet. Final women's relay of the season. We of course will have the mixed relays concluding next week in Port Luca, with the single mixed and mixed relay taking place on the Saturday. No price, no problem for Germany. They claim the bronze medal here in Nove Mesto as their leader takes time away from the relay team to focus on her battle to claim the overall Crystal Globe for the first time. A brilliant performance from the German quartet of Joanna Puff, Julia Tannheimer, Sophia Schneider, and brought home expertly by Selina Glottiam.
Loving the graphics that are visible above the targets now, just to show the audience exactly who is shooting on what lane, which targets are going down, how many spares they have left. It's hard to keep track from afar. This man knows all about keeping track. He's got it documented on his camera.
And always well supported, the Norwegians. Add to their medal collection from the season, a third silver on the World Cup, and backing up the silver medal that they won on the World Championships. I'll hand over the Crystal Globe that they won last season to France. But going out on a high, Karolina Offigstad Notten, Ingrid Lambert-Tandevold, Raniel Femsteinvik and Malin Chikaida.
Lots of Norwegians in very good form, which bodes well for the World Cup in Oslo.
And we hear the men speak about it a lot, just how hard it is to compete for Norway in terms of the pressure. And Scott, from their perspective, after a challenging season as well, from an individual perspective, more so than the relay quartet, for them, something really to build on and take momentum through the summer.
For the Norwegian female team, as individuals, all they need to do is focus on their own individual performances, and it's the job of the federation to focus on where the Norwegians, as perceived by the global audience, where they should be. And I think that it's just a development question, and what are they doing about their strategy? But these individuals don't need to think about that. They need to think about their next shot in the shooting range.
World champions and Crystal Globe winners. France step up when required. Top spot today. The first time that they've stood atop the podium on the World Cup this season. But consistent enough in their other performances to mean this one win ensures that they take home the relay Crystal Globe. It's the women and the men achieving that feat. So consistent, this quartet, in terms of their individual performances as well over the course of the last few weeks, including the World Championships. Justine Brassard-Boucher receiving her medal. And Jean Monod hers, brought home in entertaining fashion by Julia Simon, and fitting in perfectly to this French team is Oceane Michelon, whose performances as part of the relay also, Scott, you have to say, being boosted by those individual performances as well. And when it comes to confidence, it can be really hard to get out of a rut, but also it can be really easy to keep that momentum going, and it's something that Oceane Michelon has got nailed at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the French doing so well on every level. Michelon having come through that system of development and performance and investment all the way down to their junior youth world championships, where they claimed 16 medals, the French, 6 of which were gold, 6 silvers, 4 bronze, ahead of their rivals Norway with just 10 medals. A dominant nation in biathlon now, France, they're the future.
And on top in both races today, as we finish the weekend off here in Nove Mesto. Once again, excellent hosts. The Czech fans packing out the stands, always delivering this venue. And we will have a few days as we move now on to the penultimate race weekend of the season. We head towards Pokluka, where we kick things off on Thursday with the women's 15-kilometre individual race, with all the action getting underway at 3:15 Central European time.
Will now be left in the final group.